All right, I just grabbed a different tripod and set this up in a different way. I've got my front stick close to the beam here. I need to tie this warp onto here, and I take about 1 inch worth of threads. Okay, I need a few more threads there, or else I need more length here. I'm trying to minimize the waste, so I don't want to waste a lot. But what I do is I take this around the stick, split the bundle underneath, bring it up on top, tie 1/2 hitch, and then tie this, bring the end around again and tie it. I'm going to do it on 2 sides first, because then that helps hold the stick up. So I have my group of threads, bring it around the stick, separate them underneath, and now I'm just tying this knot where starting to tie your shoelace. The bundle of threads goes through once, goes through the same hole twice, and there we have it. And the reason for that knot is it holds very well, but it's also easy to loosen if I want when I want to go through and change or adjust the tension on these. All right, about another inch of threads, might be a little more, under the stick. Through once, through twice, and tighten. Okay, so this was the last one. And now what we want to do is make sure that we have even tension all the way across. I can already tell that these outside ones are much looser, which is common when the first ones you do are going to be looser. So it's easy with this knot to just pull on the 2 ends and tighten it up a little. If you want to go back through and tie another knot in this, you could, if you think it needs it to hold them tense, hold them tight, but depends on the yarn you're using. Usually this is just fine. So I'm going to feel across again. They all feel pretty much the same to me, so I think we're good to go. Maybe that one. All right, here's a trick for starting. We need to get these spaces closed up to really do our weaving, and this is a trick for doing that. First thing though is I'm going to bring this closer to the front. Each loom has its best space for its best weaving area, and in this loom I want to be weaving within about this area on the loom. So what we do first is start with the shuttle in the up or the down position. I mean the heddle in the up or down position. I'm taking a waste yarn. This is just a different leftover yarn that was on a shuttle. I'm going to put it through once without beating. I'm going to change the position of the heddle to the bottom, stick the shuttle through again, and now I'm going to gently press this down without knocking the tripod over. We're going to do that again. We go to the up position. You don't have to use up a whole lot of yarn, waste a lot of this to get those spaces spread out. If you do the 2 at a time thing, you do 2 different picks, and then you beat like this. And see, that's pretty much good. That's good to go now. Now, if you wanted a long fringe, that's another issue. You could have a much bigger space before you get started, but this is going to be a really short scarf. I wasn't planning on a big long fringe. So here's my first weft, and in this loom, this is the best weaving area. As it gets closer and closer to the reed, you want to keep advancing your warp. Okay, and I'm using the word reed and heddle interchangeably, I understand. In another loom you have, well, they're 2 different things, but these are kind of known as both. It's a rigid heddle loom. Okay, so I'm going to put my yarn through first. I'm going to wrap the end thread, the end of the thread around the outside warp and let that stay. You'll snip that off later. later. All right, so that was the down position. Now I'm in the up position, and I just keep going. Up position. I want to look at the edge. I don't pick at it with my fingers. I pull it just a bit. Pull it back. So watch what we do on the edge. We just pull it so it looks like it's going to be about right. It just, you have to watch it and learn from experience what's going to work. And then the beat, I'm not beating this hard. I'm not trying to make a saddle blanket or a rug or a purse. I'm trying to make a scarf. And with a scarf, you want it to be drapey. And from experience using this yarn, I know that those spaces you're seeing in there right now are going to kind of disappear when it gets off the loom, off of tension, and gets wet. So I'm going to wet finish it, and it will kind of fill in a lot of those spaces. And it will be nice and drapey. If I beat this really hard at this point, I'd end up with a piece that's very stiff and bulky. That's it. That's weaving. For this project for the class, I usually do a short scarf with a slit in it at the base, or at about this point, so that you can slip one end in the other. So we may do that. Okay, I am getting close enough to weaving near the reed, near the heddle, and I don't really want to be that close to the heddle. I don't have as much space there, and it's not the best weaving area. So what I'm going to do is put this in neutral, loosen up the back tension, wind the front tension, wind the front one forward, and now I'm back to my area where I want to be in to weave. So notice I'm not fiddling with the edges. It's really just a matter of trying it, evaluating how it's coming out, and adapting from there. So what I am doing is giving a slight pull, just to pull it in right around the edge, because I don't want to loop. Let's see how it works on that. A little bit of a pull there. Also leaving this at an angle, because as it beats down, it gives it a little extra length to work over and under those threads. Look, I'm getting kind of close to the reed again already, right? So we're going to put this in neutral. All right, I'm at about 4.5, almost 5 inches, and that's time for me to start the slit that I want to do. So I am going to bring the main shuttle back over to the left. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this next one is I wound a short shuttle with a little bit of yarn. I'm going to find my halfway point, which I suppose I could use a tape measure so I would know for sure. So I'm going to bring this shuttle back through to there. Okay, and then I'm going to keep my shuttles going the same direction. I'm going to take the short shuttle through there. I have an end to deal with, so I'm going to end that by just wrapping it around that edge thread again. Those ends will be clipped later. Now I'm going to beat. All right, now I go into the down shed, and now I'm just doing the same thing, but I'm weaving with 2 shuttles. I just have to watch that middle thread, make sure I know. All right, I think I wanted to go around it this way without on this side, and this shuttle will go around it that way, just so the thread is caught. All right, so now we're just weaving with 2 shuttles for the amount of time that we want to have our slit. You want to be careful to not pull this too tight here at the center, because you don't want that to be a gap. I mean, you don't want it to pull too far much. I know that's going to straighten out okay, so I'm all right there. So I ended this. This is the end of that one. I'm in the next shed. I'm just going to stick that back in an inch or inch and a half. Take my new thread, new yarn, and bring it through. That can end right there. I'll cut off that end when we're finished. Start feeding it in and just keep on going like that. And that's how I would change the thread, or if I have to add a new thread, if I'm using the same color and going to run out. You just want your old and your new ends to overlap somewhere. Now we're back at about our 8 picks per inch. So notice I'm not beating it hard, just pressing it. All right, here's another join. So my white ended there. The gray one, I'm going to just stick the end of it in about an inch, a little over an inch. And just keep going, just so that those threads are overlapped. We'll be trimming those ends that stick out when we're all finished. Here's how I'm going to hem stitch. I have the yarn threaded on my tapestry needle. I'm going to go under 4 threads, 4 of the warp threads, go around the same 4, back up into the weaving, back 2 picks, but around those same 4. So next 4, go through the same hole, under 4, pull it snug, wrap it around those 4. Now I go diagonal. So I tell people, go straight across. That's under 4 or 5 or 3, whatever you choose. And now I'm going to round the same 4, but diagonally. I've just gone under the last 4. I'm going to go around that group, and now I'm going to go diagonally, but just up in between the last 2 warp threads. And this time, I'm going to catch my thread in the loop as I pull it snug.